I'm not going to ask you all these questions. I've just got some here, and then the audience are going to ask some questions.
Okay.
But I can ask the first one. I'd like to talk about one of your earlier films. There was The Big Knife, the Robert Aldrich film, because you've played an incredible range of characters. And some of these people have been people who are much older than you were. And it always strikes me this is a very difficult thing for an actor to do, because you played a power-mad movie producer. Do you find it much more difficult to play someone who's much older? I'm not sure that I felt you really were older in this.
Well, I don't know. You see, that's my curse and my blessing. If I wasn't so fat, I probably wouldn't have made us so much money. I don't know. I don't know. I always looked, I'm 44, you know, and sometimes I used to get childishly peevish and say, well, Brando's 45 and Paul Newman's 45, and I look like their father, you know. I used to get... But because of my frame and my build and whatever kind of gift I might have, I made a pretty good living. Yes, I at times love to dream. I'd love to look like Paul, you know, and I'd love to look like Sidney and kind of. But I've got no complaints, and it's helped me make a living.
But is it more difficult to play a man who's, say, 20 years older than you? Because
the
movie producer in that film was about 60, wasn't he?
Well, no, he was supposed to be about 50, but at 55. But the point is that I think an actor's supposed to create different images and different people. I don't believe in this. I was away in Europe for a while and came back to America, and everybody was talking about the stupid phrase, that's bad for my image. That's bad for my image. I don't understand that. I thought you were supposed to create different images. I mean, my type of actor is a French actor like Harry Bauer or Paul Muni. I mean, that to me is where I would like to someday have somebody say, well, you know, he was trying to get there, and that's the kind of work he was trying to do. And that's where the adventure of living comes in, and the excitement of trying to become something you're really not. You know, sure, it may be more difficult. I don't know. I can't really judge it. I think sometimes just to be yourself is the most difficult thing in the world, in the movies or on the street or in any walk of life. But I like the challenge of it. I think that's what an artist must exist on, is challenge. And when he begins to play safe, I think he ceases to exist. I've done crappy films on Holy Wives, Run of the Hour. I've done such crap, but what the hell, here I am. No, I'm just saying, but I was trying. In each film I was trying. And that's what I think, there's a part of acting that people don't talk about. The audience knows when you are bullshitting them and when you're not. Well, they know. They say, oh, come on, he doesn't really care. Now, I can care, as I have proven, and this thing now, I saw this thing I did in 1953. I look like a Junior G-man out of a... No. Well, I was trying, though. I mean, I wasn't trying to fool you. I think that's the all you ask for a man. Did he try? Did he try? If he makes it good. If he didn't, move over. Yes, ma'am.
I was sitting here remembering with great pleasure your performance as Judd in Oklahoma, and what you said about how you rated your past performances. Is this the sort of thing that you would want to do again?
No, I looked like a misplaced Moscow art player in a cardboard musical in that tape. I really did. I looked like Moskvin had been brought in from Leningrad. I enjoyed doing that. I had never done. I just don't belong in a musical, obviously. And I had a great time. And of course, the thing I'm proudest of is I sang my own song. An actor goes around and says, "Never mind the performance, but I sang my own song." And I was so proud because I'm a frustrated singer. I studied opera for 4 years before I was an actor, and I have the amazing ability, a 3-octave range, and also the incredible blessing of being able to change key and never hear it. I had a chance to do, they asked me to do The Life of W.C. Fields as a musical, which is a joke to begin with. And they asked me to do that. Isn't that funny? I sound like Mort Saul. No. They asked me to do it, and I could see myself out there. Now in New York, they have these terrible things with the budgets like $7,000 or $50,000, trying to find the first note. Going, and I just couldn't do it. No, I enjoyed that though. I don't necessarily want to see it, but I enjoy it.
I heard that somebody dubbed that song.
Nobody dubbed that song. But I hear I'm making a public proclamation.
I obviously read a misinformed article.
Yes.
Presumably now you've got much more freedom in the choice of parts than you would have had in the early 60s.
I believe you should earn the right. That should be the barometer of the type of power you should have over the material you're doing. By that I mean if you have a good record as a performer or director, whatever capacity you function in, then if you have kind of come through, with some decent work, then you should have a right and have some power over the material you're dealing with. So what happens is usually that people figure, well, what the hell, he hasn't done so bad in some of the things he's done, so, we'll listen to him.
So you'd work closely with the director on most of your films?
I think you should. I think you absolutely should. I'd like to be in on the beginning of a film, really. Unfortunately, that's very hard to do, and very seldom does that opportunity come up, I mean, it's now that I know some directors. We're talking about things we could kind of work on together. I think that's... Each film now, I think, will be done like a unit. I mean, the age of Hollywood studios or big studios is over, and it's going to be independent productions, which I think is marvelous. And you'll make a unit for each film. You won't get your big money, which really never fascinated me that much, as long as I can feed my daughter and that with some sense of self-respect. And you'll operate together, and you'll work together, and you'll try to create and develop together. In America, we have almost had big business destroy the art form of film, almost, but not quite, because now independent money's coming in, and productions needn't be so lavishly and stupidly disorganized. And then, of course, there's the power game. You see, this is one of the things that has destroyed almost American films, is suddenly conglomerates come in because they like women and decide to make movies because they might get lucky with the women, you see. And they hire the best people, and then they come down to tell the best people what they're doing wrong, of which they have
the best writers,
the best
and
movies, the writers and the actors, and
yeah.
then they come down suddenly and say, from the Wall Street business office, I don't think that scene's very good. And you say, I beg your pardon. I said, well, I don't think that scene's being played right. And you say, well, where the hell did you go to school? I mean, well, you want me to go up in your office and take care of your accounts? I don't think your accounts are going very well either.
Mr. Steiger?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask what you think of actors like Marlon Brando who make a stand on race relations or other such issues. Do you think an actor should become publicly involved in this sort of thing?
I think you have to if you're a human being today. I don't think you have a choice. You have to go outside. If I can't go outside of my house without fearing I'm going to get beaten up, I've got to go outside. I've got to go outside and do something and say something. Number one, to answer your question, yes, you are a person first, a human being first, and an actor second. Therefore, you are a citizen first and an actor second. Yes, you must go outside. But the danger is those who cannot create artistically often substitute. And that's what I begin to wonder when I watch some of these people who are always in the forefront. You see, if they were in the fifth row of the march, I wouldn't mind. No, you have to watch that danger because, I'm trying to split a hair here, but there is ego in all of us, and nobody enjoys anything more than saying, look, I'm out in front for good. I'm marching for the goodness of the world, right? And he's enjoying the thrill of what he thinks the right idea, and not necessarily the idea of sacrificing anything. So I think you should fight. We should fight for each other because we damn well need to, it seems, what's going on now.
In the Heat of the Night, for example.
In the Heat of the Night was a happy film. Sidney Poitier is a friend of mine for about 14 years. An accident, a fluke took place in that film. Our love of each other, our respect for each other as human beings, and our friendship kind of fell into that film. And I think that's what kind of makes that film work. I don't mean to be disrespectful to the director and all that, but I mean, we had known in our lives each other a long time. I was well aware of the prejudices that was in myself, and also the prejudice that exists in anybody, including black or yellow people. And Sidney and I had, in fact, there was one scene in the film, the scene in the house, where they're becoming friends, and then somebody says a remark that reminds them, unfortunately, of their own prejudices, and there are these. When I said to him as the sheriff, don't you pity me, black boy, because that was the end of the scene. Sidney and I had a scene like that, not to that emotional extent, but about 8 years before in his apartment. But we had been talking about racial prejudice and problems, and said, when, we're the highest form of animal, and this prejudice exists in all of us, and don't you at times look at me and say, you white son of a bitch, we should drop dead when you're tired and angry and you've been hurt and insulted. And don't I look at you when I am stupidly animal and my intellect departs and leaves me, and I stand there, and because I've been hurt, say, oh, you black bastard, you're no good. That film's not going to solve any social problems. It's not I don't think any film will. I think they can indicate, like films like Z and that, and make you aware of certain things. But then again, who does it make aware? Only those people who are really sensitive enough and worried about being aware, It was a happy and a good film.
Let's have some more questions. Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'd like you to amplify on, you said something about you thought In the Heat of the Night didn't do particularly much good, rather as a film as propaganda.
A lot of people in Hollywood thought this was their big social film. You know, it's a lot of crap. It isn't. It's a very nice film and a good film. And yes, I think it's good to see a black man and a white man working together, and it's good to remind people of the problem, but it's not going to take the tension out of New York City, and it's not going to stop riots in Chicago and all that. If you ask me to go to see a film lecture, then I say, fine, that's what you invited me to. I don't think a film should lecture unless it tells you outside in front, this is a lecture, and therefore you can say, okay, that's what I came to see. But I think there's much more work to be done. I do think it's an incredibly powerful force, especially when you remember that some of these things eventually, even though they are butchered on American television, will get onto American television, and 92 million people can see it in one night, and maybe some smattering of some kind of intelligence will get through in spite of the Madison Avenue idiot mind that may have something to do with it, cutting it and censoring it while they sell cancer and other delightful things, you know. So I think we're just beginning. I'm not here to speak about English films. I think, and let's forget English in America. I mean, the filmmakers have a chance now to really make their statements, but they must be made in theatrical forms. That's what I'm saying. It must be made in gripping stories and that. It mustn't, as I say, lecture. Does that answer you?
Mr. Steiger, how involved were you with Kazan and the Method School before on the waterfront?
Well, the method is a word that about 10 years ago or 15 years ago, some smart-ass journalist put on this to divide one generation of actors from another so they could have fistfights about what acting is. I'm enjoyed working there. The Actors Studio I am indebted to because it gave me a place to practice, a place to make a mistake. This is the one thing that the artist of the world, especially the actor, does not have. Where the hell can he practice? Where can he be wrong? Most times, if you had the valiant actors, the poets, I call them, like a Kim Stanley and people like that, a Muni, people like that, they have to make it in front of the camera, in front of an audience, which takes a lot of guts to insist upon a concept, and you don't know if you're going to be right or wrong till it's all over. Otherwise, you can go become a personality or do a television series and have a great time making millions of dollars and drink yourself to death in some baronial house someplace, you know.
I read somewhere that Muni used to study parts for months and months and then really become the character when he played them. Do you do things like this? Do you study every part intensively for a long period?
I'd love to say I study for months and months, but I don't. No, I get a little nervous about a month before I do it, and I start kind of to think about it. And you see, the first thing you do is, I think half the success creatively that we have in the world is due to the fear of failure. You're so afraid. There's a certain type of person so afraid of being laughed at or so afraid of being wrong that what they think is intensity is channeled fear. You understand? And you say, oh, yeah, Jesus, I don't want to be bad in this thing. And you start thinking about it, and somebody says, you're nervous today. And maybe that way you kind of begin to enter into the part. But I don't believe, you come like, yes, when I did the Pawnbroker and came home, there was much less laughter in the house, But I wasn't the pawnbroker. I mean, that's a big yes. And when you're doing something lighter, yes, you keep your environment light. When I was doing No Way to Treat a Lady, it was a strange experience because usually I am very quiet if I'm doing something which I think is dramatic. But No Way to Treat a Lady, I used to tell jokes all the time. Which is part of preparing. I don't want to go into techniques of acting, but I was really keeping myself light because I thought the scene was light, and I wanted to keep the environment of my life light so it would come in the scene with me. Yeah.
You've been quoted as saying that there are only 10 actors in this whole goddamn world.
And don't ask me to name them.
Well, I was going to say, did you mean that seriously? And if
I
so,
mean, there's about 10 actors in each country, 5 ladies and 5 gentlemen. Yes, I do.
Well, I was going to ask you whether you included actresses as well.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Sorry, I certainly do. I just think there's certain people who are poets, and there are other people who are actors, and we have other people who are personalities. And the people who are poets are the ones that I believe in.
Mr. Steiger, many successful actors have become directors, some of them quite good. I've wondered, have you ever thought of doing this?
Yes, I want to very, very, very much. I'm going to be 45 in April. I am unfortunately brainwashed a little bit by the American disease of passing time. I mean, we live in an age now, if you're over 11 years old, you're washed up on the King's Road. No, but that's what I feel like. I must tell you a funny story about the King's Road, You start walking a Saturday morning if you're in your 40s. You walk out, you start at Sloane Square like King Kong, you understand? And you're walking down there looking at all the birds, boy, and you say, how do you like that? And they don't even see. By the time you get to the middle of the road, you're Mickey Mouse. It's incredible. Incredible. I'm going to get a whole bunch of credits and flashing, over here, looking for love, over here. Anyway, the point I'm trying to say is that I think I got 15 more good years to go.
50?
15. And as a director, I would be able to work when I was older, and I want to direct anyway because I have a lot to do with some of the films I've done. So I'd very much like to direct, yes. Yes, sir.
Mr. Steiger, as far as your acting is concerned, are there any particular classical parts you'd like to play?
No, yes, there is. But unfortunately, all these splendid English actors are knocking them all off. You know, I would love to do a Macbeth in films, and when I was older, I would have liked to try to do a Lear in films. But Mr. Schofield, Mr. Schofield, I'm afraid, has answered that for the next 10 to 15 years, and I'm greatly respectful of him and very happy and hope it's a fantastic success as a film. Yes, I would like to.
You say here in these notes that I base my whole career on the same thing. Do I like the part and do I want to play it? I would just like to know about the girl and the general. In fact,
Out! Obviously, a socialist spy. Yes, I spotted you when you came in, you crazy fool. Out! Shoot this man! I needed the money and it was dreadful and I'm embarrassed, and thank you for reminding me. I was getting panicky. I had a family then. Oh, God. And just let me finish. And I was getting worried about my monthly bills, and I did that stupid thing, and there I was, a 2-penny whore and a 1-penny production.
You play better if you got £1 million for a film or £100?
I don't know. Money has nothing to do with
do you think actors are overpaid? Many actors.
No, I don't know a good actor that's overpaid, but many personalities are overpaid, yes. I don't think you can overpay a poet, but I would say that I for the new fashion that you shouldn't get so much money up front if you get an honest count in the end. So I do think, no, I don't really. I'm not going to be dishonest. According to the relative profits of a successful movie, they are not overpaid, though it looks on a piece of paper as if they are. But in order to do more adventurous films, like, for instance, to do The Pawnbroker, I got $25,000 for that picture. If I would have asked for more money, we wouldn't have done it. When I did The Sergeant, I did the same thing with my salary. So my answer to you is fairly obvious, that money is not the thing that I'm concerned with. And I think if I was getting paid a huge amount, I might have gotten very tense and become very money conscious. I work to survive and stay alive and keep my friends' self-respect. And sure, I like to make some money, but I'm not going to take my skin off for it.
You mentioned the pawnbroker. When you were playing that part, did you see him as a man who was oblivious to his surroundings? A man who had, as it were, opted out of society?
No, the man I was portraying was a man who tried to exist without connecting with his surroundings, but was very well aware and tried to stay out of this problem as much as he could, because he felt that he had failed saving his family from the concentration camp, which was really not his fault. He had superimposed the guilt upon himself because of the horrors of the Nazis themselves. After the war, he tried to live as if he had no responsibility for the horrors in the world around him, because he was so sickened by the horrors that took place in his life during the war, which is an impossibility, which is the whole crux of the problem. You have to be responsible in some way to the society you exist in.
Do you feel that you were playing more with the head than with the spirit, with the soul in that film?
You saw the clip. I was trying to play with everything I could play with, whatever that is, but I was trying. That's all I can tell you. You know, I don't. That gets me in trouble sometimes. I get a little hammy, I guess, but I always try to go all the way if I can make it.
And you believe this is your best performance of all the films?
It's the one I feel best about. It's the one I feel satisfied about. I think I don't agree with these people who say they're never satisfied. I was kind of pleased with this thing, and I feel like I had a good meal and I ate it well.
I mean, the Germans gave it an award because they have a guilty conscience, and maybe some of the Jews did too.
I don't know about that.
What I'm trying to say is the people in the camps were all very fat. You agree on that?
Yeah, I was the fattest of them all. Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, you think that the concentration camps were really so full of fat people?
Sir, do you think that I don't know that they weren't? No, of course not.
I think the point was the people had just arrived.
Did playing that part
change your life in any way?
I don't know, I hope. I think everything affects your life, and therefore there's some sense of change. I'm sure I must have got educated somehow in some place by doing that part in some level, but it didn't, change. I would say it added to it, I hope. I hope I did learn something. But not change, that's a big thing.
Well, I wondered if perhaps you'd turn your talent to writing, because you've got some pretty interesting
Well,
views.
I always used to like to write, yeah. I'd love to be able to develop in that field. I'd never give up acting because, I've been lucky enough, I'm living pretty good that way, and I'm not going to give it up. But I would very much, yes. I mean, I think the one thing I had the most frustrating... I had two publishers come and say to me, would you write a book? Well, your ego, you go mad. You say, of course. Of course. The world is waiting for my bloody book, yes. And they said, no, I said, of course, I say right away, I'm not writing anything on acting because I don't want any of that crap. I'm not going to write one of these terrible books about my life in Newark, New Jersey, because a few black people are having more trouble in Newark, New Jersey than I ever had. So that's dull. There are many more tragic lives. And then they said, well, write about anything. We don't care. 3 days later, I had to call up and say, I don't have anything to say. And I hope someday I do, but I realized, it's such a temptation to say, yes, all. But I said, what the hell have I got to say? I'm trying to say, I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to say it in this kind of form. But that upset me, because I had the dream, Thomas Wolfe rides again, I'm afraid he's doing all right by himself.
I'd like to know what you'd like to contribute to the entertainment world as regards writing, please.
You mean in films or just
No,
as
what you would like to contribute, please.
I would like to be able
Anyway.
No, there's one thing I'd like to be able to write about, which is I believe people fall in love with each other's defense mechanisms and images. They meet, and they become enticed with these, and then when they begin to trust each other, they begin to show who they really are, and scare each other to death, and get divorced. And I'd like to be able to write a book based upon that theme. Wait a minute. Just happen to have a few thousand novels with me. Yes. It's ironic, I said, to enjoy another so much, you begin to hate them for sharing your weaknesses. That's what I'd like to be able to write a book about, but I don't, maybe I could write a screenplay, but I don't think I'll ever get a book, but that's what kind of thing I'd like to write. I think that's very important. I think it's a problem with everybody has all in their lives around them all the time. Yes, sir. Didn't you want to say something
Yeah,
before?
I was going to say, when you're preparing for your playing Napoleon, the film Waterloo, that you read 10 biographies. Don't you feel there's some danger of over-intellectualizing when you're preparing for a part?
Well, I didn't read 10 biographies first. That's a press release.
That's a report I read.
No, I know, yeah. I read a lot of books. I don't know how many. I read so many books about the Battle of Waterloo, I don't think it took place. I mean, it just, there were so many conflicting reports and who won who and who went where that after a while I stopped, and the smartest thing I did about Napoleon was, I'm not talking about the performance, that's for you to judge, but I suddenly remembered, I called the American Medical Association. I said, do you have an autopsy? Do you have a translation of his autopsy? And they did in Chicago, which they sent to me. And ironically enough, they cut him open on a billiard table, which I can't, it's just incredible, the emperor of the world on the billiard table. And he was dying of cirrhosis of the liver, partially cirrhosis, cancer of the stomach, incredible hemorrhoids, advanced gonorrhea. He had a germ he picked up in Egypt, I forget, a parasitical kind of germ that gets in the lungs. So the man, the last 6 years of his life, I played him at 45, was dying, and that gave me the basis of my conception, which was simply a man whose mind was so powerful he refused to let his body die, and the problems that would involve as an actor to try to create. I mean, how he gets up, how he sits, the pain sometimes not to pass out when somebody's talking to you, little things like that. Because greatness you can't play. I mean, when you walk in the room and everybody bows, they know that's the emperor, that takes care of the greatness, I tried to play a man who refuses to die. His ambition is to succeed and to win this last great battle, to make the greatest exit in the world, because he knows he's going to die within 6 years. I just found him a fantastic adventure to try to share part of his life. It was tragic at the end. I mean, it's just tragic that the man just refused to recognize death and refused to recognize disease in that. I'm on his side, really. I don't know about philosophically, but as the actor, I have to be on his side in order to try to investigate his life. But I think I don't know, I know one thing, you never see me put my hand in here once, I'll tell you that. They kept saying, you've got to do that. I said, the minute I do that, I become a clown. I said, what is it? That came out of I've heard all sorts of things about why he put his hand there. Really, I believe if you study the paintings of the period, you see that was kind of a pose that they gave men who were supposed to look important with the hand in there that the painter liked. Also, he had kind of a chubby little belly. I think he kind of liked to hide it from time to time. Ma'am, sir.
If you had a completely free hand about the next kind of film you made, what role would you like to play? What is the role you would most like to play in the cinema?
Life of Ernest Hemingway. That's what I'd like to do in cinema. Then I'd like to do Beethoven, Edgar Allan Poe. But I'd like to do the life of Hemingway if I could have my way.
Why?
Because I adore the man, because I like his spirit, because I love his writing, because it would be a challenge trying to be, for a few seconds or so, Ernest Hemingway.
Is that why you did Al Capone?
No, Al Capone. I remember you. Yes, sir. No, I did Al Capone. That was the first kind of big part I got to play, and I did that because I wanted people to get to know me so I could act some more. Yes.
I'm training to be an actor. One tends to get in a sort of vacuum. I wonder if you can give me some honest advice on approaching my career.
What honest advice would you like? It is a dirty, treacherous, rotten, mixed up, glorious, magnificent, perhaps, and if you're gifted to be one of those poetic people who'll be remembered, my advice to you is to do it. I ask you one question. Do you need to be an actor, or if you want to be an actor? If you want to be an actor, get the hell out of acting. If you need to act, you will do it in spite of yourself.
Look, hang on, I think we're going to have to call a stop to it. I'm sorry, we could all go on for hours, I know, but there's this incredible thing. They're going to run a movie in here in about 10 minutes. So we'll have to stop it there. I'd like to thank you very much. It's been wonderful.
Thank you very much.